A man was dumped out of a helicopter and he dies on the spot. Reacher goes out to an ATM because he doesn't have enough money to buy clothes. When he's waiting in line, he sees an injured lady and notices a van on the side. So he asks her some questions before he walks up to the van to beat the carjacker. He gives the lady her keys and gets his money from the ATM to pay for his clothes. He gets a message from Neagley, so he calls her to find out Kelvin Franz was murdered. Reacher goes straight to New York to find out what happened to Kelvin. Kelvin tried to get Neagley to help him, but she was too busy until his wife Angela called her, and Reacher gives a detailed guess on what happened to him afterwards. When they visit Angela, Reacher notices a car following them. They try to cheer up Angela, and Reacher gets straight to the point. She tells them what happened and gives them a key to Kelvin's office. Before they leave, Reacher brings up the black car that might be following them, but Neagley brushes it off. Shane Langston tells Seropio to keep an eye on Reacher. When they reach Kelvin's office, they find it trashed, but Reacher thinks they didn't find anything they wanted. Neagley assumed Kelvin should have left the important items next door in his mailbox. They go to the post office, but it's closed, so they have to go tomorrow. When Reacher went to bed, he had a dream when he gathered a bunch of soldiers to become the Special Investigation Unit because the army wants them to deal with complex matters. Their teamwork sucked at first, but he got everyone to work together after a bar fight with another unit. Reacher is woken up by a nightmare of Kelvin asking him what he will do. They go to the post office the next day and hash out a plan to check Kelvin's mailbox. Neagley distracts the clerk, but when Reacher was searching, an old lady called him out until he got Kelvin's mailbox. Reacher storms out after taking everything and finds a USB in one of the packages. Reacher wants a gun, but before he gets one, he goes to the church. Father tells Reacher whoever comes in for help gets their fix from Dumont at the east of the Rockaway. When Reacher arrives, he knocks one of them down with the car door and beats up the other ones. He robs them of their possessions while throwing away their drugs into the sewer and drives off. AM meets with people who sell fake passports, and once their deal is done, he kills them both. He goes to the airport to book a flight to Denver with his alias Andrew McBride. Neagley finds a room trashed and they both go in to check it out. They heard a sound from another room, so they get ready to end the intruder. They have a standoff, but O'Donnell has a blade aiming at Reacher's balls. They have a reunion and O'Donnell wonders who they are killing. Neagley checks the USB, but it had a password and 2 minutes to figure it out or it will wipe out all the data. With their collective thinking, they guessed Kelvin's password, but it failed until O'Donnell types in Reacher and it was right. The files were a bunch of alias names and numbers, so they try to get the 110 unit back together. They go to Tony Swan's place, but no one was home, so they break in. O'Donnell finds his dog dead from dehydration, and Reacher assumes Swan is dead because he wouldn't do that to his dog. Reacher thinks someone is after the Special Investigator Unit, and he gets happy about it. Reacher attacks the man who was following them, but they find out they attacked an officer named Brusso. When they go to the airport to switch cars, Reacher notices Carla Dixon and gets her to get a rental because the cops are looking for them. We get a flashback of Dixon telling Reacher a base is using too much fuel because they are adding extra contraband to the plane. Dixon tries to get Reacher to take her out, but he makes excuses not to go. Back to the present, Dixon is looking at the notes because she is good with numbers, but she can't make it out to anything, and they go to Atlantic City to look for their squad mates. Shane wants Seropian to take them all out at once, and Seropian wants to recruit his buddies to help out. Shane will cover the bill, but he wants them dead by tomorrow. When they reach to Atlantic City, Reacher breaks into Orozco's office and finds it trashed also. They go to Lucky Lounge because Reacher sees Orozco had a couple photos framed up with a girl in it. Reacher and Neagley goes inside without the others because they look like cops. When Reacher asks the bartender about Milena, they send them to the back while the bartender tells Milena to run away. Reacher and Neagley beats the men who entrap them, while Dixon and O'Donnell catches a fleeing Milena. They ask Milena if she knows anything, and she tells them 650 at 100k each was the last thing Sanchez told her before disappearing. They go to a casino to figure it out because it might be messing with the casino's revenue. Reacher asks to speak with the head of security and Chief David welcomes them. They ask if he knew what 650 at 100k means, but he had no clue. Reacher wants him to run the names and also asks the other casinos if their books are fine. David gives them a sweep because it's going to take some time before they can get the information from him. Reacher goes for a snack run, and once he's done, he sees Dixon winning big in blackjack until the worker asks her to end the night. When they leave to go for a walk, she asks Reacher why they never got together, and the reason why Reacher didn't go for it was because he was her boss. They hop the fence because they notice people following them. They didn't use their guns because of the cops, so Reacher baits one of them to go to the construction site. He wraps his hand with a rope and goes after the guy. Reacher gets cut by the guy and he starts fighting seriously. He uses a shovel to parry his attack and ultimately throws him off the construction site. On the other side, Dixon faces off with the other guy. She beats the guy with a surprise attack, but Seropio shows up to shoot her. Dixon uses his own guy as a meat shield and Reacher tackles Seropian down. Reacher starts beating him and using the cement to suffocate him. Reacher only finds his car keys on him, so they search his car. He finds profiles of their unit and a phone, so Reacher calls the most recent one. They both warn each other, but Shane sounds scared over the phone and hangs up. Seropian didn't leave any ID to identify himself, but he left a parking pass, which gave them a clue. They tossed the bodies into the cement mix to get rid of the evidence. Back at the hotel, Reacher patches himself up while Dixon finds out she got nicked and didn't notice because of the adrenaline. So Reacher helps her out by putting rubbing alcohol on the wound. Dixon takes off her shirt to seduce Reacher and they enjoy a thrilling night together. The next morning, Reacher tells the other what happened last night and White shows up at the door to give them bad news. Police found 2 more bodies around the area and they knew it was their buddies. After asking around, they found nothing shady going down in the casino and nothing came up on the names. Dixon assumes it's a New York problem because everything seems to lead to New York. 20 miles out of Denver, Colorado, AM meets with the man who gives AM a mission. 10 days earlier, 2 guards are beating Kelvin until Shane asks Kelvin what he knows. Shane breaks his legs because he doesn't want to talk and gets him ready onto the helicopter. Shane gives him one last chance, but Kelvin threatens him with Reacher, so the bodyguards throw Kelvin out the helicopter. Back to the present, Reacher goes to a gun shop to get more guns. He uses the law to borrow the guns from the shopkeeper and some hush money to make the deal go smoother. Reacher gives each of them a gun, but they get pulled over and the officer calls in for backup. Russo comes in to arrest Reacher, and Reacher gets O'Donnell to be his lawyer. He brings them to a room, but Reacher brings up Sanchez and Orozco being dead. Russo tries to reason with them because he wants to find out who did it, so they help each other out by answering questions. They tell him 650 at 100K and wants to know what this $65 million is for because it got his friends killed. Reacher calls Russo a dirty cop because he's doing this investigations under the books. That triggered him, so he uncuffs Reacher and O'Donnell calms the situation down. Russo has a suspect because they searched Kelvin's office and found it from his printer. The suspect is Azari Mahmood, a weapons broker, and Reacher thinks it's another alias of AM. Reacher gives Russo a list of alias AM uses to track him down. Russo finds out AM brought a ticket from Denver to JFK, and when he checks in, their guys will get him. On the other side, Dixon and Neagley visits New Age, and Marlowe tries to assist them. They ask who the parking pass belongs to, and she finds out it belongs to Trevor Seropian, who was there for an interview which had his address on it. When Dixon and Neagley were back at the motel, they talk about Reacher. Through the talk, Dixon realizes what the dates mean, and she wonders what they are counting because the last month seems bad compared to the first month. We get a flashback of the 110 unit investigating a murder case, and Reacher thinks the murders were due to heroin. Reacher thinks the Plainfield case Dixon brought up to him before is connected to heroin. Later on, they bust a low-level dealer with 48 bricks of 99% pure heroin. Dixon counts 47 bricks, and Swan finds one tucked away in his car, and assumes it got knocked over when they were transporting it. When AM checks into his flight, he notices people on the lookout, so he calls Shane to let him know he will be late. Shane is pissed because he wants to get this deal done as soon as possible because if it takes too long, it could lead to prison for them. AM calms Shane down and assures him that he will finish the job. Reacher and O'Donnell returns to the motel where Neagley gives Seropian's neighbor's number to Reacher so he can call her to confirm whether Seropian lives there. When they find out it's his house, they break in to find more information. Reacher tosses a pipe bomb inside and it hits one of the guards. They split up to search the house and kills whoever's inside. When Dixon shoots one of them, they were wearing a vest and acted dead until he had an opportunity to attack Dixon. O'Donnell rushes in to help, but a man comes out of the closet to attack O'Donnell. O'Donnell is getting his ass whooped until he pulls out his knife and brass knuckles to beat the man. On the other side, Dixon is struggling against her guy and runs out of bullets. Right before the guy ends Dixon, O'Donnell comes in clutch to end the guy. When they meet back together, Neagley makes a grand entrance by ending the only guy upstairs. Reacher chases a SUV when he notices it driving off. Neagley goes on the roof to guide Reacher to the SUV. Reacher uses a barbecue grill to stop the SUV and questions Brian, but he had a heart attack and died. Reacher goes back to the house to share the info and leaves because Mrs. Gottleman should have called the cops. When they go back to the motel, Russo comes in annoyed because they caused a scene in a suburban area. Reacher fills him in on what happened and gets confirmation New Age is behind it. Russo gives them bad news that AM knew he was being watched and got away, but Reacher thinks his plan is still in motion. Reacher gives Russo his number and Russo warns them before leaving. After Russo left, they broke into New Age to get whatever they can. They meet up at Dixon's car to escape and almost left Reacher behind. Reacher shows them a photo with Swan working for New Age and they go to a diner to go through what they took. Swan is revealed as the assistant director of security at New Age, and Reacher thinks he was talking to Shane over the phone when he was testing the burner phone. Dixon finds Brian in there too, so now they have to look into everyone in that department. Neagley finds it odd Swan usually CCs Shane in all of his emails, but sometimes he doesn't when he's emailing Marlowe. Reacher brings up a contract and Malcolm Lavoie, a congressman who supports the company, might be getting hush money from them. Dixon wants to talk with Malcolm, but O'Donnell thinks it's better to talk with the legislative director because they have less security and he has dirt on them to make them talk. Russo is being chewed out by Marsh, his boss, because New Age got hit first before they could get a warrant to search the place. AM goes to Dr. Manuel's office to kill him to take his glasses and wallet because they look similar. He also kills a secretary and closes the clinic. AM rents a car for 3 days to JFK with Dr. Manuel's ID. O'Donnell briefs them on Daniel and where he's going to be, so they plan to go there. Reacher finally answers Russo and gets him to do a background check on the security team. Before going, the girls plan to visit Marlowe while the boys plan to score some drugs. The girls break into Marlowe's home, but it was already open from the back. They go in ready to kill again, but think she bailed before anyone got to her because Dixon finds a bag full of money. Neagley is shocked because who would bail without their money or jewelry? On the other side, O'Donnell scares the drug dealer and he runs into Reacher's arms, knocking him down to be ready to be robbed of his drugs again. They suit up for a symphony while Dixon seduces Daniel to get his attention. On the other side, Reacher finally figures out the dates are a tally and where the 650 number came from. Neagley messages Reacher Dixon is out with Daniel after the symphony. In the car, Dixon gets Daniel to do some coke, but Finley shows up to arrest him. Finley introduces Reacher and O'Donnell as FBI agents who asked about the Project Little Wing. Daniel talks and they find out Little Wing is an anti-missile software where they can use it in missiles to defeat all countermeasures, so it could re-attack an aircraft after it misses the first time. They find out New Age has 2 bases and leaves once they get all the information from Daniel. Reacher orders the girls to go to Denver to jam up the missile hardware while the boys go to DC to get info on AM from Joe's contacts. When they go get food, a biker gang shows up to corner them and takes their guns away for a brawl. Reacher starts a fight by beating their leader. The others use their brass knuckles or their combat skills to beat the gang members who had knives. Reacher incapacitates the attackers while everyone else beats their opponents. Reacher calls Shane again and Shane tries to bribe Reacher, but all Reacher wants to do is throw his ass out the helicopter. Well, that's it for part 3 for Reacher. If you want part 4, comment helicopter. If you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.